Colm, and thank you for joining me. So this week has been a good week. You'll be delighted to hear. I'm in better form. I shared over the last number of weeks that I was having a bit of a tough time, and I shared that so that perhaps somebody out there who is having a tough time will know that they're not alone. I also suggested last week, I think it was, that sometimes the hardest thing to do, the toughest thing for anybody to do is to actually hang on for 24 hours. And I'm delighted to say that that truism held true this week, and several things in several areas of my life ratcheted into place this week, and we had some amazing breakthrough. What do they say? It's always darkest just before the dawn. So if you're having a bit of a tough time, trust me that if you hang on another 24 hours or another 7 days, miracles can happen. And that's what I was thinking about this week. I was thinking miracles take time. Miracles take time. You know, we have this idea that miracles are sort of where, you know, God gets out a magic wand, goes zap, and there's all your problems sorted. I don't believe that's the case at all. Miracles do take time. I have this image in my mind, if you can bear with me for a second, where, you know, we sometimes see it in CGI in movies where, you know, you're out in outer space and you've got all these planets and stars. And can you imagine planets or stars aligning in a movie, you know, and it takes time and eventually they're perfectly aligned. And that's when the miracles happen, in my opinion. But it takes time, you see, for all the planets or the stars to align. And God or the universe or whatever it is that's in charge out there, you know, you want something to happen in your life, and he or it or the higher power says, okay, no problem. And then you sort of got to just wait, you know, be still and know that I am God. And you got to wait for the miracle to happen. But you see, our lives are so intertwined with each other and with so many other people and so many other elements that it really does take time for miracles to happen. Everything's got to be just perfectly aligned before they can. When I started my coaching journey, I chose this robot as a toy, if you like, but also an icon. So I had this idea that many of us are like this little robot. We plod along, you know, day after day, just get up and go at it again. And I also had this idea that many of us had hit a wall over the years of our lives, and yet we just kept pushing against that wall, just kept banging against it, banging against it, banging against it, and not making any progress. And really what I wanted to do with my coaching business was to get people to stop banging into the same wall all the time, and in fact take a step back and realign, and then go again. If something isn't working, if the door that you've been knocking at for 10 years or 15 years or 25 years isn't opening, perhaps it's time to acknowledge that you might be knocking at the wrong door. And if you turn your gaze slightly and go again, perhaps you will experience some breakthrough. And the second toy, the second icon that I found when I wanted to figure out some way of representing the type of work I'd like to do was, in fact, this racing car. See this racing car? I think that's really cool. Anyway, I chose this because what I wanted to do was to get people to stop being robotic in their approach to life and in fact take a step back, reorient, and then, you know, come out of the blocks faster, like this racing car. If there's a door in your life that's refusing to open, and if there's another door in your field of vision that is in fact ajar, well then perhaps you might choose to step through and see what's on the other side of that door that's ajar, because perhaps that's what God wants you to do. Perhaps that's where the universe is leading you. And when we align ourselves with the plans that the universe has for us, think about it. Doesn't it make perfect sense that it will allow the universe align those planets, align those stars much more easily, rather than us fighting against that tide of events? So that's really what I wanted to say to you this week, was that hang in there. I did so over the last number of weeks. I was quite challenged, and there were quite a number of blockages in my life in various different areas. And amazingly so, however, not so amazingly so, it's just the way the universe works, several of those blocks were removed in this last week. Quite amazing, quite amazing. So if you're finding yourself a little bit lacking in energy, that's okay. Slow down, give yourself a break, listen to your body, take time out. When you're ready to go again, ask yourself, are you doing this? Are you banging into the same old door? If you are, step back, reorient, and go again. And then over time, trust that you will in fact be able to move somewhat faster. So thank you for joining me for this week's Coffee with Colm. I hope and trust as ever you got something from it. Please consider what's been shared here today and apply it into your thinking for this next week. And then very importantly, come back next week and we'll share another coffee together and I'll ruminate on some other aspect of life and business. Between now and then, get some great coffee for sure. Get some fresh air, get some R&R. If you spend too much time with people, I really recommend you take some time out and spend some time alone. If you spend too much time alone, I really recommend you go out and meet some people. And then when the time is right, and only when the time is right, get organized for the week ahead, get stuck in, make next week count, and I'll see you here this time next week for another Coffee with Colin. Sláinte. I love great coffee. Talk to you soon. Take care, and bye for now.